Thank you, Mr. Subbu, for nice introduction. And in fact, we had a great discussion for the last 1 or 2 years, and we are always trying to scale up this agrivoltaic system in the country. So my previous 3 speakers has elaborated different aspects of the agrivoltaic system, and I have already gone through the paper which has been published by Max in the year 2020. So it is a great review done by them throughout the world, and also the concept of microclimate modification by Vivek Saraf, and it was an interesting, and actually our project was based on that concept only, that physiological aspects and all these things. And also by Mahindra Group, I also had interaction with them, and the lemongrass cultivation and the agro-PV system, which is very, very viable proposition in degraded lands and dry lands of the country. So these are the opportunities actually being developed for the last 1 or 2 years, and I hope in the coming years agro-PV will be developed in a large scale in India. Okay, thank you. So my presentation topic is today on the agrivoltaic system, and actually this name is quite different in different regions. We coined the term agrivoltaics, sometimes the agri-photovoltaic terms is also coming, sometimes agro-PV, sometimes also solar farming or solar agriculture or co-location of solar and PV system, solar and agriculture. So these are the common nomenclature of the integration of the agriculture plus photovoltaic system. So I will just go to the basic concept of why we have developed this system, and as Max has already told how the history of the agrivoltaic system from 1982, how the Goethe termed this concept, then Dupra in France in 2010, then it is going on. The agrivoltaic system is often also called as solar farming or agri-photovoltaic, as I told. Integration of agriculture and PV in the system may be done in case of 2 constant situations. First case is the poor land productivity, which is often observed in degraded lands with harsh environments. Second case is the presence of environmental hazards for PV generation. For example, aeolian hazards with huge dust load. These 2 situations often are observed in dry lands of the world, which occupies about 40% of the total land area of the globe. Both agriculture and PV generation in the system requires 3 common natural resources, and these are solar energy, land resources, and water resources. However, the efficiency of the photosynthesis process of converting solar energy to food using other 2 resources is about 3 to 4%, whereas in case of PV generation, the efficiency is 12 to 15%. Therefore, PV generation is nowadays often preferred over agriculture in constant situation in dry lands, but this may challenge the food security in future, and specifically in India. Therefore, it will be wise to integrate 2 systems together on a single land unit in order to meet the food production and energy generation target together. And again, since water is common but highly precious resources in the context of water scarcity situation in future, the agrivoltaic system will provide the opportunity to share these common key resources in both the subsystems of agrivoltaic system. Global horizontal irradiance. This is another key factor for developing any type of solar PV plant. And global horizontal irradiation available in India is presented here, which is actually downloaded from NIAC website, which shows that western part of the country receive much radiation than eastern part of the country. And western Rajasthan, specifically the Indian Thorn desert, which occupies the maximum portion in western Rajasthan, it receives highest amount of solar radiation, which is around 6 kilowatt hour per meter square per day, as compared to national average, which is around 5.4 kilowatt per meter square per day. The monthly variation of GHI through bar diagram in the right hand side also shows comparatively higher availability of GIH in western Rajasthan as compared to whole country, specifically during monsoon period, because the cloud-free days are more in case of western Rajasthan. Therefore, agrivoltaic system may be found more suitable to western Rajasthan and other dryland regions of the country, specifically in Maharashtra, Anandpur, Solapur, this region. Few examples of agri-photovoltaic systems from Europe is shown here, as already Max has already shown in his presentation. I have copied from his manuscript, which is published in 2020. This is the examples of agri-photovoltaic system from Europe. The first one is from Montpellier, France, led by Professor Dubraj and Professor Maru from Indra, France. And the second and last one is the example from Hazelbach, as already shown by Dr. Max. And these examples are with high PV mounting structure, as already discussed by him, and with low PV density, which may pose challenges for regular cleaning of dust from the top of the PV module, which is a very, very regular phenomena in the arid zone of the country and other islands of the country. We need regular cleaning at least at 7 days interval during the summer period. Therefore, we at ICAR, Central Arid Zone Research Institute, Jodhpur, have designed a specific agrivoltaic system for arid zone of the country. In the agrivoltaic experimental project, we have tested 3 designs, and these are single row model, double row model, and 3 row model. The maximum height of the PV array from ground surface in these 3 designs are 1.2 meter, 1.96 meter, and 2.56 meter respectively, whereas a ground clearance of 0.5 meter is kept in all 3 designs. Considering the variation of shade length created by ground-mounted PV structure as per variation of solar zenith and azimuth angle, interspace area between the 2 PV arrays in these 3 designs are kept as 2.95 meter, 5.55 meter, and 8.90 meter respectively. This shows the top view of the 3 designs. Length of one PV array in all 3 designs was 30.75 meter. In case of single row model, 2 PV density designs were installed, one with full density as shown in the figure, and another one is 50% density, which is not shown in this slide. In double row and triple row model, PV density at the top row of the PV array was 60%, whereas in the rest rows, it was full density. This reduction in PV density was made purposefully, mainly because of allowing photosynthetically active radiation to reach to interspace area where agricultural activity is carried out. However, this receiving the PAR is done intermittently, and this thing has been elaborated by previous speaker Vivek Saraf. So with these 3 PV array designs, we have installed 105 kilowatt agrivoltaic systems at Kajri, Jodhpur in about 1 acre land distributed in 3 blocks. The first block was occupied with single row PV designs with 3 PV array with full PV density and another 3 PV arrays with 50% PV density. So these 3 rows were with the 50% PV density, and these 3 rows were with full PV density. In block 2 and block 3, there were 3 PV arrays and 2 PV arrays respectively. These experimental designs were made in such a way that the total area and the total PV size in each block remain same, so that we can compare the designs with one another. And all these PV arrays are tied with grid through 2 50 kilowatt inverter and net energy metering system. Here, the performance of different crops we tested till today in the agrivoltaic system is presented. We are still continuing the experimentation with different crops. Some of the successful crops we found till now are Vigna radiata, Mook bean during the Kharif season, Plantago ovata, Isabgul during the Rabi season, Cuminum cyminum, which is cumin or called jeera during the Rabi season, aloe vera, and Cassia angustifolia, which is locally known as Sonamuki. It is among medicinal crops, and spinach and amaranthus among vegetable crops. All these tested crops are short height in nature and require less amount of irrigation water so as to best fit in the agrivoltaic designs in our system. Another unique feature of the agrivoltaic system developed at ICAR Kajri Jodhpur is the water harvesting system from top of the PV module. It is very simple in design, but was found very efficient in dryland regions where availability of water is scarce, even to clean the dust load of the PV module. In our system, with about 360 mm average annual rainfall at Jodhpur, we could harvest about 70,000 to 80,000 liters of water in an underground water reservoir, and system efficiency was observed 70 to 80%. This harvested water is further used for cleaning of the PV module through solar PV pumping system and can also provide supplemental irrigation to crops grown in the agrivoltaic system. So these are some field photographs of the rainwater harvesting systems. Fixing of MS seed channel at the end of the PV module as shown here. Then connection of underground PVC pipes with MS seed channel. Then construction of water reservoir. And the cleaning of the PV module using the solar PV pumping system is shown in different photographs. Then again, another few photographs of growing different crops. For example, spinach below the PV panel, brinjal and another cucurbitaceous crop below the PV panel, brinjal at the interspace area, and some Robi crops just germinated in the interspace area as well as the below panel area. And these are some extension activity of the system developed by us. We have actually demonstrated this model, different stakeholders starting from school children to policymakers. And these are the different photographs of different blocks of the agrivoltaic system. And these are some photographs with different operations. For example, these tractor operations inside in the interspace area of the agrivoltaic systems. And this is the inverter, 50 kilowatt inverter installed in the field itself. So based on the performance, we found double row PV design as the best agrivoltaic model. And best performing in the best agrivoltaic model were best performing crops in the agrivoltaic model were Mukbin during Kharif season, Isabgol during Rabi season, and spinach and amaranthus below at the below PV area. So this is the model now we are trying to outscale or scale out in different portions of the country. Apart from this research, we have carried out another research on the availability of the daily light integral, which I am very much glad that Vivek Saraf has mentioned this point in the agrivoltaic system, why this is so much important. Because in this slide, I have shown the DLI availability map during the month of December. Actually, we took observations of photosynthetically active radiation around 150 points at different space in the agrivoltaic model. And then through spatial geostatistical modeling, we developed this map in the month of December. And as shown by Vivek, that the daily light integral, the DLI, which is mole per meter square per day, if it is less than 10, then it is very difficult to grow crop at those areas. And if it is around 10 to 25, then most of the vegetable crops you can cultivate. But if it is grain crop, as shown by Vivek Saraf, we call it as a cereal crop. For example, rice, wheat, then bajra, any type of millets, we cannot grow in the agrivoltaic system because the daily light integral is very, very not reaching the saturation point. So, and another graph actually shown by Vivek was the graph of photosynthesis rate with the availability of the temperature and also the radiation. And he was talking about the carbon dioxide saturation point, which is very important. Because if you increasing the temperature and if you increase the sunlight, it is not always required for plant. After certain amount of DLI available, plant does not require that radiation. So if we cut the radiation in the agrivoltaic system, this is somewhat beneficial to crops. So this is the win-win situation for the agrivoltaic systems we found, and we have submitted this concept in a paper for publication. Another interesting part, which is very, very important for any model to grow as a business model. And we are not expert in the economics calculation, but I have tried on my based on the literature survey and reading some economics books, we calculated the economics of agrivoltaic system. The life cycle cost and inflow has been calculated by calculating net present worth of any future cost or inflow. As per the best agrivoltaic model, 400 kilowatt can be installed in 1 hectare area as per double row model, with top row with 60% PV density and bottom row with full density as discussed earlier. The cash outflow for ground mounted PV system, replacement of components, repair and maintenance, and for crop cultivation are incorporated in the economic analysis. Whereas cash inflow through sale of PV generated electricity and crop yield are included. But through this interaction from Ms. Sohini's presentation, I came across to another point, which is the negative cost for cleaning the conventional solar PV plant, which she mentioned is around 15%. So if we include this also in my economic analysis, the simple payback period will be much more lesser and the internal rate of return will be much higher. Our case, we found the simple payback period is 5.87 years, whereas the life cycle of the system is 25 years. And the discounted payback period is 10.40 years and internal rate of return is 16%. We have also calculated how much reduction in the carbon footprint the agrivoltaic system can do. Okay, so this is, we found that 1 hectare model, it can reduce the carbon dioxide footprint by 479 ton carbon dioxide equivalent per hectare. Here, carbon dioxide emission factor of coal-based electricity generation was considered as 0.82 kilo carbon dioxide equivalent per unit of electricity, whereas for PV-based electricity generation, it is 0.011 kilo carbon dioxide per unit of electricity. So this is the amount of savings or the amount of reduction in carbon dioxide emission we can contribute through agrivoltaic system. So for the further outscaling, this is the concept I proposed several times in my presentation, that how this agrivoltaic system can go in the large scale in India. As told by Dr. Max, that KUSUM is already trying in its different components, and it is not directly included in the KUSUM scheme, but the first component actually creates some opportunity to install the agrivoltaic system in the farmer's field. So we have proposed the RESCO model for the rooftop system, which is ongoing in our country. The same model can be applied in the agrivoltaic system. So it is called agrivoltaic RESCO model. So different benefits and few perceived drawbacks, as different speakers has already mentioned, that it is the increasing the income from farmland, recycling of harvested rainwater, improvement in microclimate, reduction in soil erosion, reduction in dust load, improvement in land equivalent ratio, soil moisture conservation by reducing the wind speed, reduction in GHG emission. And some few perceived drawbacks, that whatever Ms. Sohini has also indicated, that safety of field workers engaged in agricultural activity, because it is a huge installation of different electrical connections, then managerial complexity, additional load on plant manager for agricultural activity, ownership issue, farmer and solar power plant functionality, sharing of benefits in case of joint venture, high capital investment during initial establishment. So based on these findings, we have also published a policy documents in the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, New Delhi, Renewable Energy, a new paradigm for growth in agriculture. So this document is available in the NAAS website, NAS website. So you can access this document where different aspects of the agrivoltaic systems is given. Another 2 or 3 slides I will take because we are trying to do this KUSUM scheme, and we have experimented a small size solar farm for marginal farmers in India. For example, 1 HP and 1 solar pumping system, how it can contribute in the solar contribution in agriculture. So this is actually performance of different solar PV pumping system in response to head and in response to solar radiation availability. So we have modeled this equation, that using these equations we can actually estimate what is the discharge at different radiation and different heads. So based on this performance, we can create a solar PV pumping opportunity with runoff water harvesting system, which is very, very important in our country, and not in our country, different islands of the world. This a small runoff water harvesting system based on the soil conservation service curve number method, we can calculate how much runoff volume we can generate, and that runoff can be stored in farm pond, and through this farm pond using solar PV pumping system we can grow crops. In case of marginal farmers, it is very important. And these things have been published in just 2 months back in Agriculture Water Management. So if you want to read the different details of this opportunity of the solar PV pumping system, specifically the small size solar PV pumping system, different aspects has been discussed in this manuscript. I am not going into detail. So I have already consumed, I think, 15 minutes time. So thank you very much.